He started on pole. He had the fastest car on the track, by his own admission. And somehow, by the time the rain shut everything down at Michigan, he was sitting in 14th place with a wrecked machine and a hard lesson carved into his memory. Meanwhile, a driver who started 5th just locked up his 3rd ARCA victory of the season before most fans even finished their first hot dog. Today we break down exactly what went right, what went catastrophically wrong, and what it tells us about one of racing's most entertaining storylines in years. Michigan International Speedway, ARCA Menards Series. 100 laps on the schedule. 57 completed before the rain made the call official. Gio Ruggiero, starting 5th, takes the win. Jake Bowman crosses 2nd, Gavin Boschel a 3rd. Connor Mosak, who dominated early, settles for 4th. Cleetus McFarland, internet celebrity turned actual racing competitor, qualifies on pole. His first ever ARCA pole position, and ends the day 14th after a multi-car incident sends him hard into the wall. 3 wins to 0 for those 2 drivers on the afternoon. That contrast is the whole story. To understand what happened today, you have to understand what Cleetus McFarland represents in motorsport right now. He built a massive platform through YouTube, drag racing, and car builds before making the jump to oval competition. And he has not just been showing up, he has been competitive. Earning pole at Michigan was not a fluke. His lap time was real. The problem with translating speed into results on a super speedway is that Racecraft, the chess game of positioning, reading traffic, and knowing when to surrender track position, takes years to develop. Cleetus has the mechanical instincts. The situational awareness that comes from hundreds of oval laps under pressure is still being built. Ruggiero, by contrast, is deep in a dominant stretch. 3 ARCA wins in a single season plus a Truck Series victory already on his resume. He is not a surprise factor anymore. He is the standard. Let's talk about the wreck, because this is where the real story lives. 3-wide racing on a super speedway is always a negotiation. Somebody has to give. The driver in the middle has the least margin. They are getting squeezed from both sides simultaneously, with no wall to anchor their line and no clean air to keep the car stable. When Cleetus found himself in that exact spot alongside Ryan Vargas, the math got brutal fast. Vargas got tight, the car pushed up the track, and with Cleetus running right on his rear quarter panel, there was no room to absorb it. Contact, then chaos. Andy Jankowiak gets clipped. Jason Kitzmiller gets collected. 4 cars compromised from one decision that took less than a second to play out. Here is a strategic question that matters. Could Cleetus have avoided it? His own spotter told him to give more room to the inside. He acknowledged that directly after the race. The calculation he made in real time, hold the position or surrender it, is one that experienced drivers answer differently depending on the lap count, the gap to the leader, and the risk-reward of the moment. At lap 30-something in a 100-lap race with a car already fighting a tight handling condition, the aggressive choice was the wrong one. Not because aggression is wrong, it is not, but because the car was already wounded. A tight race car in a 1-mile oval does not get better in traffic. Cleetus was managing a problem and then inserted himself into the highest risk situation on the track at that exact moment. That is the real lesson here. We were 3 freaking wide. Maybe I should have let that guy have more room and raced another lap versus bombing in 3 wide. Cleetus McFarland post-race for Ruggiero. The performance was a masterclass in patience. He started 5th, let faster cars sort themselves out early, executed on every single restart, and found himself in the lead when it mattered. The rain ending the race did not steal his win. He had already done the hard work. Cleetus McFarland's fan base is enormous, and they will be split down the middle on this one. Half of them will defend him completely. He was 3 wide. Vargas moved up. Nothing he could do. The other half, the more racing literate part of that audience, will point to the spotter call he admitted he did not fully follow and ask the harder question. The ARCA community is watching this crossover experiment with genuine interest. Cleetus is not a punchline to serious oval fans anymore. A first ever pole position buys real credibility. The wreck will not erase that, but it will be the data point that gets referenced the next time someone argues whether he belongs in this field. Ruggiero's win, meanwhile, may not get the mainstream traction it deserves because of the rain-shortened nature of the result. That is unfair. 3 wins before summer in ARCA is a statement that belongs in the conversation. Cleetus takes what happened at Michigan and applies it immediately. He still has the Truck Series race at the same track coming up Saturday. If he manages his position intelligently, avoids the chaos, and brings the truck home in clean condition, the narrative flips fast. The pole plus a solid truck finish tells a much better story than just the wreck. And Ruggiero keeps winning. A championship push forces the broader NASCAR world to start paying serious attention to what is happening in ARCA this season. Cleetus runs the truck race Saturday. The same aggressive instincts that hurt him in the ARCA race surface again in heavier machinery with more experienced competition, and the damage is compounding, both to the equipment and to the credibility argument. There's also a real mechanical question after hitting the wall hard. Racing damaged equipment in back-to-back events is a risk that does not always announce itself until it is too late. Here is what this race actually proved. Raw speed and learned racecraft are two completely different skills, and no amount of talent at the wheel closes that gap without track time and hard lessons. Cleetus earned that pole on merit. The crash was the tuition. So the question I am leaving you with today is this: does Cleetus McFarland have what it takes to bridge that gap before his equipment budget and team patience run out? Or is this a story that ends with a lot of pole positions and not enough checkered flags? Drop your take in the comments. And if you want more ARCA and Truck Series coverage that goes beyond the box score, you already know what button to hit.